Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United hosting Everton in the Premier League. It is back. Joe Smith is back. We are back. Joe,
yes.
Finally, together, we have got through it. As a collective, we have got through the international break. Premier League football is back. And if you were going to pick a game you'd want, it'd probably be Everton at home, due to our record, which we'll get to a bit later. But yeah, it's a big game. It's happening. And thankfully, because I was done in waiting for the return of, no disrespect to the international teams, but proper football that we all care about.
Hellish. These last 2 weeks, Jay. Absolutely hellish. Having to watch nothing. It was nice watching Scotland win and Ireland win.
Yeah, I get all that.
You know, that was all good fun. England obviously won because that's all they ever do, and yet there's still a load of criticism. But who cares about any of that?
Not me.
When Manchester United are back playing. And this is what really matters. It's a chance to go 6 unbeaten, to win 4 of our last 6. I think it would be something like 8 of our last 11 or something. I think in all competitions, United would be on, or maybe 7 of our last 10. It's been a really good run of form for Man United recently. And like you said, this is the exact sort of game you want to try and extend that sort of run of form. So I'm very excited. It's a shame that it's Monday night, but with all that being said, it's a fantastic opposition and an opportunity for United to really start pushing up the Premier League at this point.
Do you think it can? It's a weird one because I want to say momentum about United because it's 5 unbeaten, 3 of those were wins. It is tempered slightly though by the fact that there's 2 draws. The most recent games, we didn't win either of the last 2 games. I know there's a bit of context to them and we've come from behind in them, but we were leading. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But do you feel this international break did sort of stop our momentum, or do you think it can help having a bit of a break now? What's your views on what it could do for Manchester United in terms of where we were at and where we could be?
I think the biggest thing we needed was a change of mindset, and I think we got that. I think we've had a different one since the start of the season. I've said a lot of this before, and then obviously the Jim Ratcliffe interview, and then we had the international break last time, and since then we've looked a lot better. So I think that this won't really affect us too much. I think there'll still be that same kind of overall feel-good feeling in training. Obviously, you know, you're not thinking about the last 10 years every day as a Man United player. You're thinking about how do things feel now? How confident are we going into the next game? And they should be confident. And they've been really good at home for most of this season. And I think, you know, some wins that look a little bit underrated now. The Chelsea win, I know they had 10 men for a lot of that, but we still had to beat them. The Sunderland win, again, at the time didn't feel like much, but not many teams have beaten Sunderland, and that's still been the case since we beat them as well. So we've been good at home, and I think that now is a time where we actually, I don't want to say put pressure on them, but there is a really good chance here over this next run of games to actually push on and be a proper team and actually say to these players, we expect you to start winning some games now. That, you know, there was mitigating circumstances, the manager came in halfway through the season, X, Y and Z, all these things we've gone over a million times, and we don't expect you to be the best team in the league, but let's start beating the teams we should beat. And let's stop losing some of the games that were unnecessary, and let's actually pick up some points now. And I think that's a fair expectation for this season. Yeah,
I completely agree. And also, just on the international break, there was quite a few United players who did well during the international break. We saw obviously Bruno got a hat-trick, Senna Lemons got his Belgian debut and kept a clean sheet and won, which his record this season is very good, isn't it, in terms of the amount of games he's played and the amount of wins he's had and all the rest of it. And Matthijs de Ligt, who's had a very up and down relationship with Ronald Koeman and the Dutch national side over the last couple of years, he played and was part of a big win as well. So there's a few positives there that hopefully they can sort of bring back to Old Trafford with them. In terms of this run that we're about to embark on, the games that are coming up, because I think statistically United had the toughest start to anyone in the Premier League. When you look at the games we had and the opposition we were facing, where that opposition had finished last season, if you sort of base it on that, we had Chelsea, we had Arsenal, we had Liverpool, we had City, all within those first sort of run of fixtures, which it literally doesn't get much tougher than that. You're facing all the teams that were sort of round the top end of the table last season. So it was really tough. But this time, sort of post-international break, it is a little bit easier, isn't it? And it's a lot easier. I know there's no easy games in the Premier League, but we've certainly got an easier run in theory, and this is a massive opportunity for us.
Yeah, 100%. So let's just go through these next 10 games then. So we've got Everton at home, Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, Villa away, Newcastle at home, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Burnley away, then there's an FA Cup game, and then you get to the Man City game, which is obviously, even though it's at home, one of the most difficult games you can have, and by then I expect them to be fully sort of challenging Arsenal and pushing on to try and win, what would it be, their 7th league title in the last 9 years or whatever.
Something horrible, horrendous. Something just minging.
But up until then, all those games that I read out are winnable games, and some are really difficult. It's never
Palace
easy.
Away is probably a tough one, isn't it?
Palace away is really difficult. We struggled with Newcastle. I know our overall record isn't that bad against them, but we don't beat them that often. And it's at home, but again, it'll be tricky. But, without having to trot out the old "there are no easy games in the Premier League" sort of cliche, this is about as manageable as it gets for a 10-game spell. And I think United, like we said before, really need to push on and sort of show us what they actually are this season. Because they've had a good start, not amazing, but good, especially when you consider last season. Now let's pull away a little bit from that 13th, 14th kind of place where at the moment I think we're only 2 points ahead of 14th, but we're 2 points off third. So let's cement ourselves in that top bracket of teams this season and really win a few of these games and pick up a lot of points. It's been a while since we've done that as well. I think it was not since Ten Hag's first season have we gone on a really sort of chunky run of form where we've not looked like losing every week and we've kind of beat teams. So we kind of need to repeat that at some point. I think this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. We did, come on, there's no excuses here now. Yes, we've got some tough games, but we've got some good players as well. And I know the AFCON is looming. And that is going to sort of be a bit of a problem because we are going to lose 3 very important players for us. But before that, and even during that, we've still got a lot of quality there. So hopefully we'll have enough to get a real run of fixtures or a real run of wins together, like you mentioned, and maybe Frank can cut his barnet finally. Before we get into predicted 11s, let's talk about what people can do to get involved with the watch along because we want you to send us your score predictions, and Joe's going to show you how to do it now. So film yourself in landscape like that, 30 seconds.
Give us your score predictions. Yeah. How's the game going to go? I think it's going to be Casemiro. I think Cunha's going to score. United are going to win 2-0. Send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. That email address is in the description, so you don't have to remember it. It's down there. Go and check it out.
Big thank you. And just before we move on to predicted 11s as well, don't forget to check out the merchandise from the Stretford Paddock store. We've got loads of merch there. There's a link in the description and in the pinned comment there. Go and check it out. Christmas isn't far away. Get yourself an early Christmas present. Right, predicted 11s. Joe, I'll start with yours. Yeah, talk me through this. This is the team you think Ruben Amorim is going to pick for the visit of Everton.
Yeah, I think a lot of it picks itself, especially when you consider that I think Martinez isn't quite back yet. I think Amorim said he's nearly ready, which means not ready. It'd
be a bit weird to throw him in, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no need to do that.
No.
Just take your time.
He said that Maguire's not fit. He's also said, obviously, that Sesko isn't fit. And who else was the other one?
Mainu was the one where
I
don't think Mainu had been training. And obviously Mainu missed the last game as well. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there on Mainu, what's happening with him. Obviously, we don't need to labour the point, but if he's not in the squad, I expect Jack Fletcher to come into the record will keep going before anyone starts panicking. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, he maybe see Shea Lacey in there, to be honest, because
that's a good shout.
In training as well, wasn't he? So I've gone Lomans in goal. I've gone Yoro, De Ligt and Shaw. It's, kind of picks itself with the injuries that we've got, and it's pretty close to being the first choice anyway. Then we've got Ahmad, Casemiro, Bruno. I've gone with Dorgu. I think, again, Ahmad, Casemiro, Bruno, we know they're probably going to start.
Yes.
I've gone with Dorgu over Dalot just because I thought Dorgu looked excellent for Denmark against Scotland. I know he got a goal, but even outside of that, he looked sort of up for it. He's obviously got a lot of that kind of work rate, and he does it. I don't think he's necessarily a lot better than Dalot in the final third, but I think he gets there more readily. Yeah. I think he's someone that finds himself in those good positions more often, and I would like to see a little bit more quality from him. But I'm glad to see that he gets in those areas. And I think against Everton, you would hope that we're going to have a bit more of the ball and that we could kind of test them in the final third. So I've brought Dorgu in. Then I've gone Mbumo. Cunha is the sort of number 9, the way we kind of saw against Fulham. Yeah. He was the sort of more central player. I know they all switched around a little bit, which I expect to see. And in place of Sesko on the sort of team sheet, I've gone with Mount in terms of just pure personnel wise. I think that he's the one for me that should start. He's put in the best shift of any of the sort of options in that part of the pitch this season. Not started for a couple of games as well, so I'm hopeful he will start, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. And I feel like that's what the manager wants to do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I agree with what you're saying about Patrick Dorgu. I think he's done all right since he's come in, Dorgu, and I think there's definitely a player there. We were very impressed with him pre-season, I think this season he hasn't quite got going, but you can see that the talent is there, and obviously the manager rates him. And the rest all makes sense. Mason Mount was flying earlier on in the season, had a little bit of an issue with injuries. I expect him to come back into this side eventually. And obviously with Benjamin Sesko out, it does seem like quite an opportune moment to do that. Get involved in the chat in the comments, let us know what you think. My team that I've gone for, that I think Ruben Amorim will pick, is slightly different, and only ever so slightly, and I'll explain myself. I've gone with Delo, left wing back. He has played there before under Ruben Amorim. It was paper thin margins. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe he'll go with Dorgu for the reasons you've explained, but he does like Delo as well, and I just feel he might just go a little bit safer almost, because it's like, look, if I just pick the sort of safer option there, everything will be okay, because Everton, with all due respect, are a good team, but they're not amazing, and I think we'll be okay. I might be wrong, but I just have a feeling he might go with Delo. This sounds a little bit less safe, or a little bit more left field.
Go on.
And I'll explain my thinking. I'm going to throw Joshua Zirkzee in. I think Joshua Zirkzee might get a start against Everton. Now that, on the surface, will seem somewhat ludicrous, because Zirkzee's barely played this season. Mason Mount has played, and when he hasn't played, it's more or less been due to injury rather than tactics or whatever. However, I was chatting to an Evertonian earlier on this week, and he was reminding me that Joshua Zirkzee actually got a couple of goals against Everton last season. I think it was a 4-0 win, wasn't it? I do think there's still a player there in Zirkzee, and I just wonder whether the manager might go, okay, I've got AFCON coming up. I might have to use you at some point. We're hearing rumours that maybe he ain't going to go in January. We don't know what's going to go on there. But either way, you might go, look, this is a game where you've done well against Everton in the past. Everton aren't the most difficult team. Show us what you're about.
Yeah.
Let's see you in the Premier League. Let's give you a start, and let's you remind me of what I'm missing. I think that might be the opportunity for him, because, as you said with sort of Cunha, yes, he can be the 9. I've got him as the 9, but they can change it about, and Zirkzee, obviously, we know he can play as a 9. Cunha could have maybe drop into the 10. Even Mbumo can push up. So with that front three, I think it is very fluid. So I just wouldn't be surprised if that was what the manager decided to do. I know it's a bit of a left field pick, and the most sort of obvious choice would be Mason Mount, but just keep your eye on that one. I think there might be something there in Joshua Zirkzee. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments, whether you agree with myself, Joseph, or you think there's a different option that we've not looked at for Manchester United. It's good to see we've got a few options. Even with Sesko out, there's a few options there, because, he could put Ahmad in a 10 and put Delo at right wing.
Could do Delo and Dorgu. Or Mazraoui and Delo. Mazraoui and Dorgu, yeah. There is a lot of options.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Everton.
Yeah.
Because they're 13th in the Premier League, which, no disrespect to Everton, but is about right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they've had a tough time of it, haven't the Evertonians, over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Flirting with relegation, going through different managers, having these sort of runs where it looks at one point like they could be in real trouble, and then doing enough to sort of get themselves out of trouble. They are obviously a huge club, a lot of history there, and it's almost like my my enemy's enemy is my friend. So there's a bit of an affiliation there with a lot of Everton and Manchester United fans, not with Ronaldo Brown obviously, but there are a few others, because they hate Liverpool probably more than we do. This season, what have you made of them?
I think they've been a pretty decent team. I think one thing that I am seeing a little bit with them is, when Moyes first came in, that kind of relief and just relaxation of being in a sort of safe pair of hands again, where they don't look like they're going to get relegated. They're not constantly looking over their shoulder, having to defend, fan protests and I'm not saying they were unfounded, by the way, but just it felt like a club in turmoil, didn't it? And then Moyes came in, and it stopped feeling like a club in turmoil. Yeah. And I think a little bit of that varnish has just worn off a touch. I think they're sort of more settled in the sort of Moyes world now, and the run of form so far this season has been 2 losses, 2 non-losses, 2 losses, 2 non-losses. Yeah. So, by that math, they're due a couple of losses now, and I'll be happy if United start that run. But I just think they're kind of in the position where they'll end up. They're 13th at the moment. I think they'll be well safe of relegation, but and capable of causing an upset, obviously, as every team is. But I just feel like they're just lacking something. Maybe it's a talismanic number 9. Maybe it's a bit of pace down the wings. I think they've got some good players. I like Ndiaye, I like Grealish. But at times I feel like they're just lacking maybe something.
I agree with the 9.
I think United should sort of beat them, really.
Yeah, Grealish has obviously done well. I agree with what you're saying, though. I think they are lacking number 9. I've been very impressed with James Garner as well, and I was chatting about him to some Everton fans, and he's someone who's having a good season, can play in a couple of different positions as well. But yeah, I think on the whole, that squad, whilst they have got some good players in there, the ones you've mentioned, I think it's so hard in the current climate when you haven't got loads of dough to go out and get a number 9 that you sort of is going to guarantee goals. You have to sort of go for the long game, don't you, and get someone in and hope that they sort of progress and become that guy.
They're sort of,
I don't know. They haven't had one. They haven't had one of them properly, unless I'm forgetting him, since Calvert-Lewin a few years ago. Yeah. Where he was quite prolific before he got all his injuries.
I mean, I think the last reliable number 9 they had was probably Lukaku. And that was pushing 10 years ago now.
Right, yeah.
But in terms of, doing it season in, season out.
Season in, season out, you're right. Because I think Calvert-Lewin had a couple of seasons, didn't he, where he had like 13, 14 goals or whatever in the Premier League, which is decent. It's not setting the world alight. Lukaku obviously had a very prolific season, and that's the reason we bought him.
They're a team that's sort of recovering from half a dozen years of real financial mismanagement, aren't they? They completely overspent. They went big and sort of, reached for the stars and sort of fell on their arse a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
But it does seem as though they're kind of recovering from that now. They seem more stable. They seem more like the Everton that you think of when you think of Everton, rather than, Ancelotti managed James Rodriguez and then all of a sudden, we're going to get relegated. Which I think every so often, once in a generation, a club has to go for that. You get used to being 10th, 9th, 6th, 9th, 10th, 9th, Occasionally you think, well, let's push the boat out a bit. They tried it, didn't work.
Yeah.
But now they seem like a proper team again, which I think is probably good for them, especially with their new stadium. However, I think Jared Branthwaite's the only person that's injured and unavailable, by the way. However, I just think United should be able to beat them. I think we should.
Yeah, our record against them is very good. It's a rarity in the modern Premier League era for Manchester United, but we do tend to beat Everton most games, especially at Old Trafford. With all that being said then, Joseph, give me your score prediction.
It's always tough first game back after an international break. We have got an extra couple of days compared to some people. I know the Monday night's not great, and if it's -2 degrees, you don't know how that's going to affect people and all that. But they should be pretty well rested, even considering the international break. I think that we're going to win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I can just see us scoring goals, and that, for me, is the big difference to last season. I think we'll score in pretty much every game we play this season, and most of the time that's enough to win you a game. So I'm going to go 3-1 Manchester United.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm struggling to. I don't want to just disagree for the sake of it. I was going to go for something similar. I'll go 3-0.
Wow.
I think we can get a clean sheet against Everton. I know they've got some good players, but I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that United get a clean sheet against them. We've not had many this season. Is it one clean sheet this season, I think, against Sunderland? So we're certainly due one. Goal scorers, I'll go with Mbumo, Ahmad and Xerxes.
Nice.
3-0. Get involved in the chat in the comments, give us your score predictions. Don't forget to send them as well to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Don't forget as well, we've got all the other content on the channel, so make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe. Go and check out Joe on the Sloppy Joe's podcast, and also you'll see him on the watch along as well. Monday night we will be here. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Motti. This has been a preview. Manchester United hosting Everton in the Premier League. It's back. Thanks for watching.